Welcome to Pushing Forward with Alycia, a podcast that gives disability a voice. Each week, we will explore topics like confidence, ambition, resilience, and finding success against all odds. We are creating a collective community that believes that all things are possible for all people. Open hearts, clear paths, let's go. Welcome back to Pushing Forward with Alycia. I'm Alycia.
What's up? I'm Sean.
Hey, Sean, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
I am so excited today to be joined by my friend, Sean Larkin. He is an open-hearted, neurodivergent advocate and a musician, I just found out. And him and I first connected several months ago because he reached out to me on my website to book me to speak for an event at his company. He has been championing disability inclusion and the movement from literally the second that I met him. And I want him to tell us all about his disability, his identity, his talents, and his advocacy. I'm so excited to share his story with our community more than anything because he's literally one of the best friend allies that I've ever met at work in this movement. And I feel like he can give classes to so many of the organizations that I work with about the importance of advocating for the work that we did together. Sean, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm thrilled that you are here.
Oh my, it's an honor. And just so you know, this is officially my first podcast. So thank you for initiating me this way. And hello to all of your followers and fans. Thank you for making this space and welcoming me into it.
Followers and fans. I think the fans are all yours, but I appreciate you saying that. So I have a lot of questions for you. You and I have had some really beautiful conversations about identifying with disability and just the path. I actually know that it's been a journey for you to learn about your disability, peel back the layers of your disability, and then find advocacy in it. I want to start off, if you don't mind, with the word advocacy. Because when I think of advocates, I think of people like you who are leaning in wholeheartedly to do the good of the work in a genuine, authentic way.
Wow.
So I want to ask you what that word and that role means to you, not only professionally, but personally today in this moment, now that you know who you are with your disability.
My neurodivergency has three answers, right? So the first one is like philosopher Sean. And linguistically, advocate is advocation. It's to add your voice and add your calling. It's to stand up and speak out for something or someone beyond yourself, right? So when I'm advocating for the disabled, I'm not just saying I want Sean to get support. I'm saying I want all y'all to get the support. And so for me, it's the power of the voice and the power of standing up and adding your strength to other people, adding your talents, adding your skills. Because I was blessed with a lot of gifts, and I was also gifted a lot of hardships and challenges. I don't view them as a curse. I view them as a curriculum. How do I move through the world with these challenges? And how do I actually make them something that makes me stronger? So that's like intellectual, Sean. What you're getting at, though, is in my heart space, it's almost a sense of how do I increase the circle of safety and inclusion? Ever since I was a little kid, just everyone being in the circle together was so important to me. When I was a preschool teacher, I would never let one kid be out of the circle. I would tell all the kids, like, we got to scoot back. Timmy showed up late. So I just have the sense that I want everyone to be included and to be given the chance. So much of disability advocacy is getting them up to the baseline. I want everyone to be able to shine and to bring their gifts to the world and to share their power. Because oftentimes the people that have a harder path, that tempers them and their gifts are that much more precious if we make that space. In this moment, what it means for me is this whole aspect of myself that's always been there, but I didn't have necessarily a space. And in the disability journey, in embracing my disability and realizing how much there was, I've found this community. Can you go do this stuff? And I'm like, oh, totally. I would love to do that. Let me help people. Let me advocate for people. And so it's been this marriage of some of the hardest experiences in my life and some of my greatest gifts are now coming together to benefit other people. That's magical. And I'm still in it. It's still something that I'm in and looking around like, wow, this is so big. This is so powerful. Even this moment is really powerful for me.
This is why I wanted you on the show. That entire answer that you just gave, because you're having this beautiful experience, not only your own lived experience in disability, but also your community around you and beyond, that is magical, that is beautiful, that is this cool thing to explore. And you exude that. And I think a lot of disabled people have a really hard time connecting in that way. And I think the word magical is a really good word for you to depict your journey, because that's how I feel every time I speak to you. You're in this like magical, whimsical state of being disabled. And I love it. I love it.
I want to bring that to our community because I love hearing that and I want to be humble. My neurodivergency and my disabilities, there are many hardships, but mine also have these trade offs. So I have some beautiful gifts. When I sit with my disabled allies in spaces, I interact with people that for them, it's like a net minus. And that humbles me so much because I know that feeling when my PTSD was incredibly bad and I had agoraphobia and I couldn't leave. I know that sense of I was crippled on the inside and there wasn't any magic. So now that I'm at this space in the journey, I have this deep sense of I got to bring it to our people and share this because for some of them, it's just a struggle to get through the day. And so there's this deep pull for me to bring positivity to them because a lot of our population just doesn't want to address it because it makes them uncomfortable. And it doesn't make me uncomfortable. I can sit with them and say in my own way, me too, but also I don't know. And I'm comfortable not knowing. And I can sit with you and not know and not be uncomfortable and just hear you.
I love that.
But then that's magical too.
It is. In the first 7 minutes of this episode, you've talked about the beauty and the hardships of your disability. And I want you to talk a little bit about when you decided to turn the hardships into purpose and maybe walk us through, like you have with me, the creating of a relationship with your neurodivergent and also the other pieces that come with it, the ADHD. Can
Yeah.
you give us a little stroll down
Yeah,
that
like
path?
a historic rap sheet. Yeah. So I'm 38 now. So I was born in 1987. So as a kid in the 90s, I was eccentric. I was quirky. I was daydreaming too much. I talked too much. There were all of these assessments. Every report card ever was like, Sean is a joy to have in the class, brilliant and kind, but he should really work on his homework more, even though he does well on the tests. And I would read it and I was like, it doesn't make any sense to me. What's the problem? Why do you want me to waste time on homework? I'm lucky enough that I can just learn. But as I got older, there was labelings of sensitivity. I was so smart as a kid. I remember in third grade, this government guy, I sat in a room with him and I could tell he was taking notes and assessing me, and they had messed with my brother. It's not my space to tell his journey, but they got to him, and I didn't like what the pills they gave to him did. And I was like, I'm not telling this guy anything. And I look back on that and I'm like, I could have gotten help. Or they would have just dumped Ritalin in me and told me to shut up. Not that Ritalin's bad, but that wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want that to happen to me. I get into high school, I'm struggling to focus. I get into college, I fall apart. And it really wasn't until my mid 20s that I was like, there's a problem. I have these incredible gifts, but I cannot achieve. And so I got diagnosed with ADHD. I kept trying at school. I can look back now and it was very obvious I had PTSD. It was very obvious I was having panic attacks, but I'm so good at masking and I'm so good at not letting people know where I'm at if I don't want to. I'm very open to you and I'm very open to people now. I was very guarded before because I didn't want them to know how much I was hurting. Because I came from a culture where if you're hurting, that's a problem. That's not an invitation to get help. It's like, why are you hurting? That's not okay. Eventually, I had a mental breakdown and I was diagnosed with PTSD, OCD, anxiety, depression, insomnia, on and on it went. And I joke with my therapist, I was like, it sounds like you guys are saying my nervous system is like at a 15 out of 10 and it doesn't fit in this culture. My therapist was like, basically, because I was like, when I sit with children, I know how they're feeling and I help them find their truth. When I sit with people in healing spaces, I can feel what they're feeling and I can help them come to their point of transformation. These seem like really important skills. And she was like, yeah, no one's going to pay you well to do that. And that was the beginning of me realizing, what if I'm not the problem? What if my nervous system is part of some evolutionary branch that served the tribe, that served the village, that served the sacred spaces, the healing spaces, the creative spaces, the inventive spaces, but I don't serve the modern capitalist agenda? And so I'm described as mentally deficient or disabled. I'm just not well adapted to the modern environment. And so I did a healing journey. Then, because of my involvement with the disabilities ENG at work, I found out that I'm autistic and I got diagnosed, like we talked about. Actually, since we met, we had a talk. I was like, hey, Alycia, good news, I'm autistic. And it was really the autism, and I own it. There were so many things that didn't make sense about me until I learned about type 1 autism. And then it was describing me like a book. And the more I read about it, I was like, yeah, I think Nikola Tesla was autistic, though. That dude was amazing. I think Isaac Newton, Hildegard von Bingen, like some of these incredible historic figures that were so outside the box. I'm honored to be among them. The disability is the mismatch of the beauty of my nervous system to this society. My spiritual mentor, William, would tell me, you're an outlier. You have to find out how to make your outliership help other people that are more in the middle. Because if you don't, they'll be afraid of you and judge you and hurt you. But if you can find a way to be of service to them, they'll be celebrated. That's been that journey. And now I'm doing it in corporate America with the Disabilities ENG. But to me, it's how can I make what's unique about me a gift? And how can I support that uniqueness even if this culture doesn't understand it?
I want you to talk a little bit about the work that you're doing with ENG, because I think that other employees need to understand how those groups can really help you. Like you just said, you found your neurodiversity through those groups. And I think that's because you're finding community and you're learning about things you didn't know. You just gave me a flash of when we were talking one day and you said, oh my God, great news, I'm neurodivergent, or whatever, exactly how you just said it. Again, that is the essence of you and why I wanted you to come on the show, because it's magical for somebody to be able to find a space. And not everybody's going to be able to do that with their disability, but to find some sense of acceptance and empowerment through it, whatever level you can get to, is quite freeing.
And it starts with the work within, right? My family's going through a whole thing where we realize there's all these people that are autistic because my cousin's kids got diagnosed first, and now we're all doing the work. When we do the work within ourselves to say, regardless of what's going on, if I can find acceptance for myself exactly as I am, now we've created that safe space within our own heart and our own mind where we're no longer judging, we're having compassion. We're no longer rejecting, we're accepting. And that inner work can be very difficult because of the messaging we've been getting for most of our lives. If you're a disabled person, you've been getting toxic messaging. Unless you're in the most incredible community ever. And if you are, reach out to Alycia and tell us about it. We want to hear those spaces because most of us have had a pretty bumpy ride. And I find forgiveness for that. I keep reminding myself we can't judge people for not knowing. So then with the ENG at work, the employee network group, I got involved with the disabilities employee network group because I had ADHD and I have disabled people in my family. One of my mentors is disabled. So I was like, what are you all doing? And as I got involved, I met other people. I'm not going to name them. There were a few friends at this podcast. They know who they are, that for almost 2 years have been talking with me via Teams chat about autism because I was like, I think I might have this. It seemed really cool in that call. Can we talk? They're very nurturing. When you show up for someone else that is exploring that identity, one or two people not judging and sharing their experience, their strength, their hope can change lives. They made it safe for me to explore this. And then we had a speaker that talked about it. It was really when I did a book club on the Canary Code. It's a very interesting work about disability inclusion at work, particularly for neurodivergence, particularly for autism. I was reading that book and it was talking about autism type 1. And I closed it and called my mentor and I was like, yo, Mike, I'm pretty sure I have autism. And he's, hey, I'm driving right now. How do you feel about that? And I was like, pretty good. And he's, okay, I'll call you when I get home. And in accepting that, now I do advocacy work to create that space for other people, because the work of reperceiving ourselves in a positive way, you need a community, you need other hearts, other nervous systems, other stories to make a container where you can open yourself up and move the pieces around. And I don't think one nervous system is big enough. That's why traditional cultures, if you look at their healing rituals, it's always a group of people helping one person transform. And now in corporate America, we found this new expression of that, the employee network group. And at my workplace, what I'm doing is to make this space where it's safe for people to go, wait, I am disabled and I want to join this. We can help them find their meaning and then support them engaging HR and their medical professionals to get diagnosed, to get accommodated. The statistics, 30% of people report their disability to their workplace. Think about that. So 2/3 of us aren't getting the help that we need. And if you're listening to this podcast, you probably work near someone with a disability that you don't know about. And what can you do to make a safe space for them to own that?
Lots of people doing a lot of work masking and exhausted from it.
Oh my God, it was so exhausting. I have so much more energy and time now that I'm not masking the way that I was. And that is its own kind of inner wound. And then I had to go through the journey of how do I forgive the masking? And who taught me to mask? And why did they think that was necessary? And how far back does that hurt of hiding our authenticity go? I don't even know. But it's my job to put it down. It got passed on to me, and I get to put it down, and I'm not going to pass it on.
I like what you just said about feeling guilty about masking, because I feel the same way about myself. It's not like I could ever hide my disability, but I didn't ask for accommodations. I didn't ask for help. And I had to go through a lot of really embarrassing moments at work because I didn't want to say, no, I don't want to be carried at work. There's no ramp. That made me feel uncomfortable. I'm mad at myself all the time too. Like, why did you do that? That was such a bad representation of what you should be doing. And we're the product of our environments too. We're dismantling all of the bias that we've been taught about ourselves.
And I'm going to flip it around because I know the answer for me. Was that forgiveness harder for you than forgiving the people around you?
I've never even felt like I needed to forgive the people around me because I just feel like they didn't know, like you said.
And that's like the double wound of the disability, is how hard it is to forgive ourselves, but we've already forgiven everyone else around us.
Yeah,
But we're the people with a disability. Shouldn't
I
we
know.
be in the past?
Totally.
I'm still in that process of dismantling my own inner power structure and power dynamic and judgment, where like non-disabled parts of me are judging the disabled parts and they're front and center. And it's so disunifying, it's so disintegrating. I'm always thinking, how do I practice wholeness and how do I presence the disability? Because again, I have these gifts and these talents and I present a certain way. I'm given obviously a lot of societal privilege because of the way that I look and the things that are ascribed. I have to lean even harder into the discomfort because it's easier for me than the rest of our disabled allies. So it's thrown me down the trail first to trailblaze. It's a bit easier. Or maybe that's me being a sacrificial lamb and it's my own martyrdom drama.
I think that's up to the person that's in front of you. For me, I have a lot of disabled people that might be like, I'm air quoting, able bodied in front of me that have invisible disabilities that they can navigate the world maybe on their feet. Maybe they think that's easier. So they minimize what they're going through because they think that it looks more difficult for me to do what I do. And I think nobody really needs to diminish their path. It is what it is.
I needed to hear that. Wow.
Yeah, I've lived a life with disabled people that are on their feet that say, I can't complain because I'm in front of you, which is you're in a worse situation because you can't walk. And so those are more societal assumptions about lived paths that we're still learning.
Oh my gosh, you're right. That's still me playing out the same power dynamic, but now I'm doing it to my allies. How humbling. Thank you for
It's
teaching me that.
I do that to other disabled people. I could look at somebody with a disability that maybe has a sensory loss or something. I don't know. Maybe that's somebody that can't see. And I go, oh, would that be more difficult? So you have to check yourself.
That's what I was doing when I was in denial about autism, because people had been asking me since my mid 20s about it. Even my therapist, when I was really going through a lot of the deep work, was asking me about it. And I was like, I don't want to go there. That's why I laugh so much about it. I'm continually re-humbled at the absurdity and the beauty of the journey because we're in this slice of time where we're doing it. And I think the generation after, we're going to make such a smoother ride. The generation before us couldn't even do this. So we're in like this bridge generation where we're doing the work and it's awkward and it's okay. So I laugh at it a lot, not because I think it's funny, but because it alleviates the tension in my heart of how intense but beautiful it is. And I keep beginning again. Like I keep going back to being the student.
Yeah, that's cool. But it's got a lot of layers to it. And you're right. The last generation, I just had two historic people on this podcast that were very active in the disability rights movement. Tony Kaleo,
Mm.
specifically, who was the writer of the ADA, they talk about the new generation, the generation today, the 35 somethings, they don't even know a world before there was laws that protected us. And if we don't understand the struggle of the past, the historic disabled people that were institutionalized, hid behind walls, lived in their own feces, all that stuff, to fight for these rights that put us in the forefront of now being able to be the advocates to pave, to your point, the future that's going to be the least restrictive, hopefully, for the ones that follow. There's just so many layers of development of this movement in a very short amount of time.
Wild. It makes me think there was that generation that grew up in horse drawn buggies and saw the moon landing. It's like that. And what's funny, just to be really vulnerable. So I was asked to speak for my company for the Orlando, Florida
Amazing.
office. And so I did a bunch of research, and that's when I learned about the big crawl. Disabled people in 1990 crawled the steps of Congress because the ADA got knocked down once. They did this big protest. I just presented it again today to another group, and I was like, raise your hand if you knew about this. And no one raises their hand. That's 1990. How
Yeah,
is this not part of our civil rights history? And it was
totally.
a humbling moment for me. Here I am, the chair of the Disabilities ENG group, and I'm reading the Wikipedia article on this. And I'm like, even I didn't know about this. Why is this not part of the curriculum? And that's part of our task is how do we get the visibility? It is not just advocating our vision of it. It's advocating, like you're saying, really who our elders are. I'm going to go watch this podcast now with the person that wrote the ADA. I'm so fascinated to hear their journey and to hear what that was like because I still don't know our own history. I'm still blossoming into it.
Yeah, it's the Capitol crawl that you just mentioned. It's the protests that happened before the Rehabilitation Act, Section 504 was passed. There was sit-ins and disabled people didn't leave buildings for a month and Black Panthers were coming in. The
Oh my
civil rights
gosh.
movement for the disabled, the disability rights movement is one of the most incredible stories of history that you would ever know. Like you're saying, nobody knows about it. It's right up there with the civil rights movement, women's suffrage, all the things that we know. We don't study that for some reason. It allows us our freedoms today, for sure.
It's funny you say that because when I brought it up in the speech I was giving, we were talking about it. I was an organizer in Occupy Portland. I'm not here to get political. I'm going to be civic. In 2010, we were aware where the economic trends were heading, and we see it now. We don't need to go into it. So we engage in advocacy. Seeing what it takes just for an able-bodied person to show up to protest, it's a lot. It's sacrifice. And then I'm seeing people that are paralyzed from the neck down showing up for a protest. I'm like, they had to have a whole support team around them. This wasn't just 1,000 people. This was at least 10,000 people and all the families and friends and support networks. I didn't know. I was like, why don't we know about this? And this person raised their hand and said, because it makes people really uncomfortable to see disabled people doing things that they refuse to do.
You got to go look up the sit-in that was in Berkeley. They were protesting for a day and there was hundreds of disabled people that didn't leave for a month. They didn't have medical supplies. We're talking about feeding tubes, catheters, and they would not leave. They would not leave.
It's like this reminder, we forget how close we are to it being that intense. I always remind myself, my grandmother, Sally, and my grandmother, Mary Agnes, when they graduated college, they didn't have a checking account because it was before 1970.
Unbelievable.
And I'm like, that's not that long ago. But that fire, I remember when I saw your TED talk when I was looking to get a speaker, that fire in you about all of this spoke to a fire in me that hadn't found an outlet. I didn't feel called out. I felt called in to do something with that fire, to not just sit there and burn. And that's been really good for me because I think part of my masking was not doing something about it. I was always that person that wanted to do something about the injustice. And now that I've found this identity and a community that wants to do work, I'm like, okay, let's go for it. Let's make great things possible, as my company says.
Yeah, the one thing that I think sets you apart from most actually is you not only want to do something about it, but to not go into major details. I'm not a cheap speaker. You didn't want to minimize what my value is. And instead of trying to get the deal or whatever, you went internally and fought for the value of what bringing in experts can do for a company and all the things that you did. And that's a shift. I've worked with 200 companies, and there's not very many companies that have come together like you did in your organization to get the resources and understand the value. So you're not only wanting to advocate, but you're wanting to educate on value, on progress, on community without minimizing or getting the discount for the disabled thing. And that is powerful because disability is oftentimes minimized in a lesser value.
Right. I couldn't do that. I went back and I talked to my leadership. And actually, it was our ID&E manager, Lydia White, who was just like, Sean, we're in this together. Reach out to our corporate sponsor. So I reached out to Doug Wignall, the head of the entire architecture for my 14,000 person company. I sent that email to him on a Friday. He emailed me back in 15 minutes from his phone, being like, this is important. We're going to figure this out, Sean. I'll get back to you Monday or Tuesday. And when I saw that, there was this moment of huge gratitude and huge responsibility because I was like, I have a company that is serious about this. And it was this moment of calling where you can have all the fire you want, but when you're given all this kindling and you realize that you have a circumstance that can realize greatness, that you have buy-in from your company at all the levels, there's a sense of responsibility of how fortunate I am to have them. And that means how much harder do I want to work to make something amazing happen and make my company raise the banner and become a leader in this and model to other companies because we're an employee owned company. That's a very unique thing. We just got ranked the fifth largest employee owned company. I think we're the largest employee owned engineering and design firm. Our values are represented at the highest level because we're not beholden to shareholders. The employees are the shareholders. And the employees said, we care about this inclusivity, we care about belonging, and that's reflected at the highest levels of our leadership. So to see it not be talked, but to see it be walked was powerful. And then to see you give the amazing keynote, all of the positive feedback I got has just been so beautiful.
On my side, and a year that these topics have been tough, it was such a beautiful experience for me of validation that I needed too. Okay, there's still people out there that are willing to fight for this stuff and they know it's important. I will be forever grateful for that experience this year. Honestly, it was really great for me too. Okay, I want to move on to creative stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Always.
I want to talk about this handpan music that you did not tell me anything about. I didn't even know what handpan was until I started Googling it before this, and I love it. Hearing you speak with all the spirituality and nervous system connection, it all makes sense. So, talk about your music.
Yeah, I come from very artistically gifted families. I'd always felt that in me, and I could never find an instrument that resonated with me. This is my handpan. It's named Ravi after Ravi Shankar. It's a Rav Vass, and we're going to link my music. It doesn't come over well on my earpiece, so we'll link the music so people can find it. It's Sean Handpan on Spotify, on Apple Music, on YouTube.
Give a visual description of that in case somebody can't see.
Oh, yes. It's about a 2.5 feet across, big metal circular disc that looks like two dinner plates on top of each other. And then there's a bunch of notes carved around it. And it's both rhythm and melody. So there's a bunch of notes, and I plan it like you play on a drum, but then it's like a xylophone where each note is its own key. And so then it creates this very soothing, meditative music, or very uplifting, inspirational music. I'd heard them a few times, and in a meditation during the pandemic, something in me was like, you just have to buy this. I'd gotten my disability back pay. So I bought it for my 33rd birthday, and I literally pulled it out of the box and just started playing it. My roommate was like, "Oh, you've played this before?" And I said, "I just pulled it out of the box." Within a month, I'd written my first song. And then within a few months, I almost had an album ready. So I did a home recording, which is what's on Spotify. I have found a studio through a musician friend of mine, LaRonda Steele. We've recorded a duet. She's a blues singer. And I'm going to go back into that studio and do more work. So the music originally for me was actually medicine. When I was dysregulating, I found that I could play the handpan and re-regulate my nervous system. And then when I came out of the pandemic and saw my friends again, they were like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, I learned an instrument and I would play it." And they would have these incredibly powerful experiences spiritually and healing in their nervous system. And they're like, "What? Who wrote that?" And I was like, "Oh, these are all my songs. I don't know how to play anyone else's music on it." And when your art moves other people to the depth that it moved you to make it, that's medicine. That's medicine for the people. I've played at festivals, I've played at meditation events. I have a friend that we do a new moon intention setting where I play handpan for meditation. I've played it at my elders' old folks' homes. I remember I was playing it for my mentor Stan, and he'd brought some of his friends. They're all in wheelchairs, they're listening. And someone with Alzheimer's actually clicked back in and remembered his wife and was then talking to his son. And his son walked over and he was like, he hasn't remembered her name in a decade.
Wow.
And the music reintegrated him because we're taught in this culture that like we're matter, we're this physical thing, but scientifically, matter is condensed energy and energy vibrates. And that's why music is so universally powerful. Part of my practice, part of my neurodivergency, there's songs about healing. I think the one I'll link is about my healing journey. It's called The Inward Healing Journey. And when I worked at a treatment facility for troubled teens, that's the song they would ask for when they were dysregulated. And I would sit down with them and I'd say, "We're not going to talk about the trauma for the next 5 minutes. We're just going to have feelings based on the music." And on the other side of it, they would be okay. One of the things I taught the people that I do healing work with is there is the healing work, there is the digging deep, there's the trauma work, there's confronting the hardship. Sometimes you just need a spoonful of something beautiful to just balance out, whether that's listening to Debussy or making these beautiful light arrangements I see in your room, doing something that reminds yourself that there's good in the world. And that's kind of what my music is about, is to remind myself that there's good in the world because when you're lost in flashbacks, you lose track. So I would play the handpan and the flashbacks would go away and I would just be left kind of feeling good.
I think you're the one that's something good in the world.
What a beautiful
I
thing to
love
say.
therapy. This entire episode is just therapeutic for me. It's so lovely.
It's making
Wonderful.
medicine for the people. If we do the work in ourselves, there's an alchemy, and then we can make that available to others, and it can be a catalyst for them. And you did that for me with that TED Talk. I was like, I want to be like her. You were the catalyst to me. And now it's blossoming. The feedback I've gotten from you, from other people in my life, I'm launching a website called Neurodivergent Gnosis. It's going to be all speech to text. It's going to be me sharing these ideas, these feelings. It's neurodivergency, it's healing, it's spirituality, it's autism. I don't know how to separate them. And instead of making them all different things, I was like, let's just do one thing that's authentically me. And I made the website last night so I could plug it here. I was like, I'm not going to let Alycia down. I'm going to make the website.
I love that. And it goes to the theme of you being tired of doing the work of separating who you are and just finding the path forward collectively. And I think that's a great lesson for all of us with our disabilities and beyond. Anybody who has many layers of difference. How do you cohesively move forward? We're definitely going to link your new website and blog to the show notes. We're going to link all of your Spotify. We're going to try to clip in some of the music.
We can do that.
Maybe we'll put your music instead of the podcast music to start. We'll see if the editor can do it. I don't know. I can't promise anything.
Yeah, I have MP3s. I can send you one. I have one that's designed to be an intro. It's perfect.
That'd be great. So, did we miss anything?
We covered what we needed to. We just authentically flowed. I feel complete.
I
It's an
do
honor
too.
to be here. And we're just getting started, Alycia. I feel like this is the start of a whole journey.
I know. I'm so grateful for this friendship. From the moment we met, grateful for the friendship. So, it's been really wonderful. Okay. So, then I warned you. We're at the pushing forward moment. Do you want to give a little gift away to our community and listeners who have soaked in all of your goodness?
So I was talking with my career sister, Julia, giving her a shout out. She's been a great
Shout out,
ally.
Julia.
and Julia Mackey, a wonderful friend. We were talking about continuing to do good. And I was like, Julia, there is always another good thing in store for us. We just have to go claim it. And so, to your listeners, there's more good out there, and we have to honor the hardship. I also have to go claim that good and celebrate it. So, go get it. Go get it.
Did it. I love it. Great way to wrap up the show. Sean, thanks
so much.
for all of your wisdom today. This was an episode full of wisdom and magic. Grateful for that. And we're going to have you back on because I really enjoyed this.
That would be my honor.
And to a good 2026 together. Who knows what else we'll end up doing together.
Yeah, I'm so excited for it. Yeah, let's go claim our good.
Yeah. Okay. And a quick shout out to our community for showing up to the podcast every week. Please share, review, like, all the good things. And we will be back next week. As always, this has been Pushing Forward with Alycia and Sean. And that is literally how we roll on this podcast. We will see you next time.
I love it.